More news which is just coming in. The Supreme Court relief for Rajiv Gandhi convict AG Perarivalan grants his release. Supreme Court order to grant relief for Rajiv Gandhi convict AG Perarivalan. Granting him release is what we are learning. Perarivalan has been granted relief. The killer of former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, the Supreme Court granting him relief at this hour. We'll just get in more details on that story. But what we're hearing is that the Supreme Court has now ordered relief for the killer of former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. I'm just going to go straight across to my colleague Akshata, who has more details on that story. This was a pardon case, Akshata.
This is huge news that's coming in, Sneha. The Supreme Court ordering the release of Rajiv Gandhi killer Perarivalan, AG Perarivalan. With this paving the way, obviously, for a lot more such appeals from all the other convicts in this case. 7 convicts in the Rajiv Gandhi killing. And remember, this case has gone on for eons now. There's been, of course, a lot of talk in Tamil Nadu about this and about mercy for these particular convicts. Perarivalan is currently out on bail. He is in Vellore, so we're going to be getting you also a live update from Pramod Madhav in Tamil Nadu. But for the meanwhile, right now, what this means is that the very first convict in this entire case will be walking out of jail. The Supreme Court has ordered his release on a number of factors. So let me just run you through how this case has transpired, because essentially what happened and what led to this reaching the Supreme Court is the fact that the state cabinet in Tamil Nadu had in fact ordered his release. It then followed the procedure of going to the governor. Now the governor, instead of taking a decision on this, actually moved this motion to the president, and that the Supreme Court came down harshly upon. They said it's unconstitutional. Follow the constitution. The state governor should be taking a decision on this, which is why largely it was expected that the Supreme Court would take this decision of actually releasing Perarivalan. He's been in jail for 31 years and counting, Sneha. The last time he was granted any sort of relief was back in 2014 when his death sentence was in fact changed to a life imprisonment. That too was by the Supreme Court. But this is big breaking news that's coming in for a number of reasons. Most importantly, because with Perarivalan's release being granted by the Supreme Court, what it means is that the other convicts also are going to be pushing for this. Nalini, Murugan, Santan, to name a few, are also going to be now appealing to the Supreme Court to grant a similar release to them. The Tamil Nadu government is going to be welcoming this development, as will almost every single political party in the state of Tamil Nadu. They will be welcoming this because many such movements have been started, whether it's the J. Lalita government, whether it was the Edapadi Swami government. Many of them had in fact passed a similar resolution for the release of the Rajiv Gandhi convicts. It's a very touchy subject in Tamil Nadu that evokes a lot of emotion, that also evokes a lot of mercy for these convicts. But what kind of a precedent are we setting by releasing the killer of former Prime Minister, someone who's convicted of this, will also be of course a debate that we will focus on in just a bit. But the news break that's just come in that we're giving our viewers details of is that the Supreme Court has granted the release of AG Perarivalan. The information that we're picking up is that the Supreme Court has said that Perarivalan must be released from jail. He's currently on bail right now. And we're going to be getting you a live update as well from Vellore. We'll get our court reporter up as well in just a bit.
Nalini, in fact, is with us. Akshata, just be with us. Anisha, I beg your pardon, is with us. Anisha is also reporting from courts on what next really, and what kind of precedent does this set is the big question, Anisha, with the killer of the former Prime Minister walking a free man, albeit after 31 years. Be with us. Sarvanan of the DMK is also with us. Along expected lines, this is what the government of Tamil Nadu wanted?
Yeah, see, this is what we had wanted. He has been inside the prison for the last 30 years. This is just an humanitarian gesture, and the Supreme Court, more importantly, the Supreme Court has put a full stop to this the governor's back and forth. It has clearly indicted the governor that he has not acted according to the constitution. So in that sense, this is a big victory. And of course, Mr. Perarivalan was suffered in the last 30 years inside the prison on all the presidents, everything, and he is out. That is on humanitarian grounds. So it is a welcome one.
Sarvanan, Akshita here. I just also wanted to talk about how the Supreme Court, has questioned the governor. The fact that he didn't take a decision and sent this forward to the president. What do you have to say about that? They're saying that this was a clear violation of the constitution.
See, this is what we have been talking about for the last 6 months, Akshita, that the governor is acting beyond his scope. Either he is doing things which he should not do, or he is not doing things he ought to do. For example, the need bill, he ought to have sent it to the president. He did not send it. Perarivalan release, he should have released Perarivalan, but he has sent that to the president. So this is a big indictment of the actions of the governor. Of course, the governor's actions are guided by the diktats from the BJP. So it is indictment on the BJP also.
Also, Sarvanan, there's going to be a debate here that's kicked off by what's happened. And I want your view on that. What kind of a precedent are we setting when we order the release of a former Prime Minister's killer?
This is not the first time this is happening, Akshita. I would like to remind you of Gopal Vinayak Godse. If you don't know who he is one of the conspirators of the killing of Mahatma Gandhi. If the killers of Mahatma Gandhi can be released, why can't the same be extended to Mr. Perarivalan? And let us not forget, when it comes to Perarivalan, the investigating officer has been on record and said that I have recorded the statement intentionally wrong so that Perarivalan could be booked. Let us not discount that statement. So there cannot be two justices. One for Gopal Vinayak Godse and one for Perarivalan. So this is not a new precedent. We already have precedent.
Okay, Sarvanan, thank you for joining us on this broadcast. I want to get in an AIADMK voice also on this. Kovai Satyan is joining us on this broadcast. Kovai, good morning. Akshita here. What does the AIADMK have to say about this news break? The Supreme Court has granted relief to AG Perarivalan.
This reinforces the stand taken by our leader, Purush Talavi Amma. He says that we will invoke Article 161 and release them. It was GMK ally Congress which went to the court and said that the center consensus is required. The state can't act unilaterally. Justice delayed is justice denied. I think the court has taken note of this, and on the humanitarian grounds that it's almost close to 3 decades they're languishing on jail. And this verdict stands as a testimony the stand taken by our Purush Talavi Amma, that on humanitarian grounds we will invoke Article 161 to release. I think the day has come.
Kovai, we just spoke to Mr. Sarvanan of the DMK, who said that, this is also an indictment of the BJP, of the governor who's failed to act in this case. Even the AIADMK has faced this. As you said, Jayalalitha has also worked towards this, but time and again it was stonewalled essentially by the central government, by the governor.
No, DMK doesn't have any moral or local standing to take credit or talk about this case. It was DMK which went to the governor and sought for one person release, Nalini, not the other convicts. They never asked Perarivalan's remorse. They don't have local standing. In 2014, when the central government Congress was at the mercy of DMK with 27 MPs, it was Congress which went to the court raising an objection saying that the AIADMK government cannot take a unilateral stand. This clearly exposes the double standards of DMK. Whenever something happens good, they immediately jump in to take the credit. This entire episode is definitely not any effort of DMK or Congress. The justice has taken its own due course of time. I think the culmination point is the court has taken cognizance of the prevailing facts.
Okay.
And putting the blame on governor is of no use.
Okay. Kovai Satyan, thank you for joining us here on India Today. So you've got the DMK, AIADMK, of course, pinning the blame on each other. But Sneha, what this puts the focus on is the entire case. What this means for the other convicts who no doubt will also go ahead and approach the Supreme Court now. I just want to give our viewers a bit of context here. Let's date back to exactly what are the charges, what was he convicted for, what was the conviction of AG Perarivalan all about, what are the grounds on which now he is being released. One, with regards to what he was convicted for, he was the one who gave 2 batteries that was used in the bomb in the killing of Rajiv Gandhi in Sri Perumbudur back in 1991. Yes. That was the basis on which he was convicted. Now, after that, he's filed several petitions for mercy, which came up with the governor, with the resolution also being passed by the Tamil Nadu government and the cabinet. The governor chose to give it to the president, and that's what's led to the Supreme Court stepping in here.
Absolutely. Be with us, Akshita. I'm just going to come back to you for more on that. We lost Anisha is back with us now. Anisha, what sort of precedent does it really set? There are other convicts as well. And with this development, also given that Perarivalan's case, in fact, his mother had become really the face of the anti-death penalty movement, so to speak. This is going to get just further momentum, won't it?
Well, we'll have to see what exactly the court has said while passing this order. Remember, Perarivalan's case, while, as you said, becoming the face of the anti-death penalty movement, is also a question of a lot of legalities and the powers of the governor. What the court has done today is it has said that the decision under 161, which is the decision of the governor, could not have been indefinitely delayed in the manner that it has been delayed. The court has essentially wrapped the governor for taking far too long, despite multiple reminders, despite the decision of the cabinet for taking too long on taking a decision. Now, the court has also said that the governor should have accepted the cabinet's decision in this particular matter, which is also something that is a legal precedent in the country, that if the cabinet of a state has passed taken any decision, then the governor has how far does the governor's right to refer that decision to the president go? So apart from the death penalty debate, apart from the issue of what precedent does this set as far as the killing of a former Prime Minister is concerned, the question that we've been debating, this is also a question of how far does the right of a governor to take a decision when a state cabinet has taken a decision. All of that is tied up in this particular Supreme Court verdict. We'll have to take a closer look at what the court has actually said once the detailed verdict comes out. But at the moment, what was read out in the courtroom, what was read out...
Anisha, we're going to come back to you. And Sneha, I just want to also connect with Narayan Tirupati of the BJP, who's joining us on this broadcast. Narayan, what do you have to say about this big development that's coming from the Supreme Court? All right, we'll go back to Mr. Tirupati in just a bit for a BJP reaction, because largely, Sneha, what's been questioned here is also the fact that, as Anisha was pointing out, the governor went ahead and approached the president with this particular issue, with the resolution that was passed by the cabinet, and that's what the Supreme Court has said is a violation of the constitution. That's what's essentially paved the way for this big development of Perarivalan, now set to be released after 31 years in jail. He faces a life imprisonment. Now he's going to be released.
Also, Akshita, once again, talk us through the details of how this entire matter had triggered a huge center versus state war.
It's happened for years now, essentially, Sneha. You know, it's not limited to one or two governments, because in Tamil Nadu, as I mentioned, this is a hugely sentimental, hugely emotive issue. You know, it defies a lot of belief across the country as to why people in the state of Tamil Nadu actually feel for killers, for convicts in the killing of a former Prime Minister. But the reality is that it is a hugely, deeply emotive issue where people believe that they were falsely convicted, they were falsely named in this particular case. But we'll go into that in just a bit. But because of that, you know, political parties have tried to reap the benefits of that sentiment, of that emotion, which is why every single successive government in Tamil Nadu has tried to essentially do their bit for these convicts, push for their release. And this, no doubt, is going to be something of a political brownie point for the DMK, because they're going to say that, look, hey, we delivered on that promise. We have ensured the release of AG Perarivalan now. You know, in 2016, in 2018, the J. Lalita government, the Edapadi Palaniswamy government, they all have taken similar steps of passing resolutions, of the cabinet taking a step, and very vocally that too, speaking out for mercy for these convicts, speaking out for their release, something that's unheard of and unprecedented, because you can't imagine that happening in any other part of the country. But having said that, what's essentially always happened is that it stopped at the governor's doors. It's never moved beyond that. And this time you had the governor even passing it on to the president and essentially passing the buck to the president. The centre had argued in the Supreme Court, when the Supreme Court asked why is it that the governor had sent this to the president, the centre had argued that the president has the power to grant a mercy. The Supreme Court very clearly struck that down, saying that the constitution provides the power to the governor of the state. And that's why this was expected, that the Supreme Court, upholding constitution, would say release this convict, considering the cabinet has in fact passed this particular resolution. Manu Sundaram of the DMK is joining us on this broadcast. Manu, what do you have to say about this big development, the Supreme Court ordering the release of Perarivalan?
Well, I cannot say anything more than the fact that this is expected. The writing was largely on the wall many, many hearings ago. The Supreme Court has made up its mind that this great injustice must be remedied, and it's unfortunate that it has taken 5 years. Why I say 5 years is because 5 years ago was when Perarivalan filed a petition with the then governor of Tamil Nadu under Article 162 asking to be pardoned. Now, whether he should be pardoned or not is a secondary question. The primary question is what the governor should have done. And the governor failed to act, and furthermore failed to act in accordance with the constitution. Why I say that is because the then government of Tamil Nadu, led by ADMK, I'm a DMK spokesperson, but I'm happy to give credit to ADMK. ADMK passed a cabinet resolution saying that Perarivalan and the other 6 convicts must be released immediately. So the governor naturally must have ordered their release, but instead the governor failed to act. And this is not the present governor, but the earlier governor. And now finally the matter had to come to the Supreme Court. So what do we know from today? When the governors sleep over something, the Supreme Court will not hesitate to wake them up and take the right action in accordance with the Constitution. Secondly, governors should pay heed to the State Council of Ministers. Article 162 says governors must take the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers of the state. They should not be agents of the Union of India. They should not act like,
There's no doubt, Manu, what you're saying is right. This sends across a very, very tough message to the governor also because of what the Supreme Court has said and the extremely sharp observations in their judgment as well. Do you think this sets the ball rolling for the other convicts as well to be released, Manu?
It's only natural to expect that because the other convicts will also claim parity because they were also arrested and convicted in the same case. So it naturally should apply to them. Now, they may also prefer Article 162 or 161 application with the governor, or they may, some of them are also before the different courts, the High Court of Madras as well as the Supreme Court, I believe. So naturally, this must apply for not only the other convicts in this case, but also many similarly placed convicts who spent more than 30 years in prison, in various prisons across India, because this is the Supreme Court, and I believe it has interpreted the Constitution in the correct, lawful and constitutional manner. So any similarly placed person may take advantage of this. And like I said, the two main takeaways for all of us today are governors should not sleep on their constitutional duties. When they do, the Supreme Court will take action. And thirdly, the governors must heed to the state government and their commandments and not be agents of the censor.
Okay, Manu, I request you to stay on with us because we're getting in also Narayan Tirupati of the BJP. Mr. Tirupati, the DMK has said that what the Supreme Court has said in his judgment today is a scathing indictment of the governor and also of the centre in intervening this particular case, when the governor should have taken a decision after the cabinet passed its resolution ordering the release of Perarivalan.
Oh, see, first of all, we need to understand that we have to go by the Supreme Court's judgment. Okay, it has given a verdict, we need to accept it. So, what all they have stated in the judgment, whether they have criticized the governor or not, all has to be read, and we will definitely have our opinion on that. But we respect the Supreme Court and its judgment.
Does the BJP stand on the release of the convict in the Rajiv Gandhi case? Are you for it? Do you believe it sets the right or wrong precedent?
We have been saying that definitely it will have international ramifications if we leave this all convicts. That is what we have been saying. That is the stand of the government. And that is the stand of BJP also. But when the Supreme Court feels it the other way, due to technical reasons, yes, we need to respect the Supreme Court verdict.
What do you have to say also about the Supreme Court? You're clearly saying that this was a violation of the Constitution. The fact that the governor sent this across to the president instead of taking a decision, the centre mentioned that the power of mercy is with the president, and that's something that the Supreme Court didn't take kindly to.
See, that has been discussed in various, cases, and also in many constitutional benches. We have seen, and the Supreme Court had very clearly said that whenever the central government agencies they investigate a case, all these things falls under them. So I think it has to be discussed very briefly by legal experts.
Okay, Narayan Tirupati, thank you for joining us on this broadcast. So the BJP is saying that we respect what the Supreme Court has said. We respect the Supreme Court's judgment on this matter. But the DMK right now, Sneha, is going to say that, this is clearly a message being sent across to the governor and the central government that when the Tamil Nadu cabinet has passed this kind of a resolution, they must act. This is unconstitutional not to have acted and to have sent this across to the president. And that's very clear from the messaging also sent across from the Apex Court in this case.
Consider what Narayan Tirupati just said, given that the BJP has always tried to project itself as a party which has been extremely tough on terror. And that's the reason why when there were, there was pressure from the AIDMK the last time around during the assembly elections to release the killers of Rajiv Gandhi. The BJP essentially did not relent, didn't want to be to be soft on terror. I think that the BJP is also, like in the past, as I said, and especially Subramaniam Swamy has spoken about this, is that the Congress is, for the sake of vote bank, for the sake of its alliance in the state of Tamil Nadu with the DMK, has chosen to let go of the killers of Rajiv Gandhi, the husband of the current president of the Congress party. I think that is how it's going to play out between the BJP and the Congress, at least.
Is that to me, Sneha?
Yes, yes, Akshita.
It's also what we have to keep in mind, Sneha, is that yes, you're right, in the sense that, it's just a hugely emotive issue in Tamil Nadu. The Congress recognizes that. But there was, of course, that huge photo op, that huge headline of Sonia Gandhi saying, I forgive the killers, and particularly involving Nalini, the convict. And there will be a big question mark of what this means for Nalini, for her husband Murugan, for Santan, and all the other convicts in this particular case. They will be seeing this news as extremely welcoming, because it means that it paves the way, essentially, and that's something I spoke about to Manu Sundaram as well, that it essentially sets the ball rolling for their release as well. But, it's been very high profile. The fact that Rahul Gandhi has spoken publicly about it, the fact that Sonia Gandhi has spoken publicly about it, both of them have said that, we forgive them. We have gone ahead and granted our forgiveness to all of these convicts. And that itself has echoed hugely with the people of Tamil Nadu, that kind of emotion. And that's interesting politically speaking as well, because as you pointed out, with regards to their politics in Tamil Nadu, it's hugely crucial as well. But beyond that also, it's the fact that DMK, AIADMK are very vocally and very openly always publicly stated that they're for the release of these convicts.
Be with us. I'm just going to come back to you. I'm going to go straight across to Anisha also, who continues to be with us to discuss the legalities of this and how the conflict essentially started, triggering a war between the state and the center over the release of the killers.
All right.
Anisha.
Sneha, if you can hear me, I have the lawyer for Perarivalan with me, Mr. Advocate Prabhu. Sir, first of all, the court has ordered release of Perarivalan. It has also said that the governor could not have delayed the decision for too long. What does this mean really for the other convicts as well?
No, actually, the decision of keep the decision pending, cabinet decision pending with the governor's office itself illegal as per Maruram's judgment. So they have elaborately dealt with the Maruram's judgment, and they have said claiming of 302 case as per the Sriharan judgment is incorrect. So the cabinet decision should be honored as it
so if the cabinet decision has to be honored, this means Perarivalan has to
all 6 will be benefited. All 7 will be benefited.
So does that mean that the rest of them will have to approach a court or the government?
It's up to read. We want to read the whole judgment for that. I think government of Tamil Nadu has its live record now. They will take a call on this. Once the administrative decision has been taken by the governor and by the court, cabinet, and it will be helpful for the release of all 6, I guess.
So another question that is being asked is, what does this mean? What kind of precedent are we setting by releasing a person who is responsible for killing a former prime minister? Are we looking at this politically as well, like political ramifications of this or the legal ramifications of this? If you say that on humanitarian grounds release somebody?
No, the problem is we came to this court to find the real culprits who are all behind the Rajiv Gandhi assassination. So the question of culprits itself in a huge chaos here. So, firstly, we need to find who is the real culprit, and then we should discuss about this.
But the Supreme Court hasn't said anything about real culprit or any.
As per, it's still pending before the Supreme Court, because we came to this court. Perarivalan came to this court for to monitor the effective investigation of Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. You know, Rajiv Gandhi assassination case is still pending. Investigation is still pending in Rajiv Gandhi assassination. So being declared as a convict or behind the bars for 30 years won't serve the purpose of this case.
All right. So, Sneha, you just heard the advocate for the petitioners, for Perarivalan, who is saying that this verdict will also benefit the rest of the persons who've been convicted in the Rajiv Gandhi case. He's also saying that the question that we've been debating for the last several minutes about what kind of precedent does this set. For one, the governor could not have kept the decision of the cabinet pending. But secondly, the political ramifications of all of this, what does this really mean? What kind of precedent we're setting? The lawyer says that we are still looking for the actual culprits, and this is a political question that could possibly be raised once again. Of course, we've seen the response from the Congress. We saw Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi coming in saying that we forgive Nalini, we forgive Perarivalan. But here is the question of the governor's powers, that the Supreme Court has very clearly said governor could not have kept this decision pending in this manner. Perarivalan is going to be released now, and a similar relief is likely on the horizon for the rest of the convicts as well. As the court says, cabinet decision is paramount. Governor cannot keep that pending. So it is now for the Tamil Nadu government to see what happens to the remaining convicts as well. Back to you.
Yes. Anisha, my question to you is, this is going to happen, and relief is expected for other killers as well, all of them convicted, irrespective of the charges that they were facing?
Well, see, what effectively we see, I'll remind you again that the actual detailed verdict of the court is not available with us at the moment. We're still waiting for the written order to come out. But what the lawyer is telling us is that the court has said that the governor could not have kept the cabinet decision pending, that the administration is responsible for taking decisions regarding this kind of remission, that the governor could not, which basically means that if the Tamil Nadu government says that we want to release all of them, then it is for the Tamil Nadu government to take a decision. Since a cabinet decision was taken to release them, then it is the cabinet of Tamil Nadu which will have to take further steps. The court will no longer have to pass specific orders for every person. It is for the Tamil Nadu government. So the focus will now shift back to Tamil Nadu. What will the government there do with regard to the remaining convicts? What will happen now with regard to this entire debate? But the Supreme Court has made it clear that not the governor, but the cabinet, the elected government, the administration has to take a decision on this. And since the administration has taken a decision on humanitarian grounds, since these people have been in jail for more than 30 years, the Supreme Court has said that the cabinet decision must be implemented.
Yes, and I think, Akshita, that gives us enough idea about the direction in which the wind would be blowing from here on, given that the cabinet is going to decide, and we've seen what they've done as far as this particular case of Perarivalan is concerned.
You know, what's very clear from what Anisha also told us, Sneha, is that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Perarivalan, not because the entire petition and the hearing in this case was about the precedent that's set or about the charges, the conviction that he faces, but rather about the constitutionality of the governor not taking a decision when the Tamil Nadu government has taken a decision already and passed a resolution, the cabinet passing a resolution. Constitutionally speaking, what the governor did was not according to the protocol that's followed, and that's what the Supreme Court has ruled on. That's what's provided this relief, this release of AG Perarivalan. So if you see that particular thread and that narrative being followed, yes, it will mean there is relief for the other convicts as well, because the Tamil Nadu government stand is very, very clear. Release all 7 convicts. It wasn't just for Perarivalan that they've been batting. They've been batting for all the others, for Nalini, for Murugan, for Shantan, and all of the others as well. So unmindful of the fact that, you know, these are extremely serious convictions. We're talking about people who have been found guilty, who are facing life imprisonment for the extremely serious case of the assassination, the killing of a former Prime Minister, irrespective and unmindful of what kind of a precedent it sets, and that entire debate of what it means for someone who's convicted, who is serving a prison sentence for killing a former Prime Minister, walking out of jail. Irrespective of all of that, it came down to one point. Is it constitutional for the governor to actually block something with the Tamil Nadu government when the cabinet has passed that resolution? That's what the Supreme Court ruled upon. And if you follow that particular thread, it's only a matter of time before the other convicts also get relief, Sneha.
Well, absolutely. That's a big story we're getting at this. Akshita is also getting us more details on how this is going to be playing out politically. Once again, Akshita, we saw a blame game of sorts between the AIDMK and the DMK on this matter a while ago when both the spokespersons were on our channel talking about how, pinning the blame essentially on each other, on how politics has been done on this issue. Akshita.
That's right, and it's been a huge political issue. Almost every single election, you'll see this particular issue, echoing, and several political parties making promises, going back and forth. But essentially, all of them are on the same page on this, in the sense that they all were for the release of convicts. It was essentially coming down to a credit war. Who's done more for the Rajiv Gandhi convicts, for these killers? And that's what it came down to. But at this point, both the DMK and the AIADMK will say that, look, we were the ones who took the first step. The fact that till now it hasn't happened is essentially because, Sneha, every single time while the government took that step, it almost became, a narrative that was a given, that was followed every single time, of the government voicing their support for these convicts' release, taking steps like passing resolutions, etc. But this time it's actually yielded results because it reached the doors of the Supreme Court, and the fact that the governor took that step of sending this across to the president, when clearly the onus is on him, based on the constitution, to take a decision when the Tamil Nadu cabinet actually passes that resolution. Let me just again revisit this entire case for our viewers, Sneha, because I know there's a lot of curiosity surrounding the man and the images that you see on your screens. AG Perarivalan, he's 50 years old now. 1991 is when he was arrested. So 31 years effectively he's been serving his sentence. He was first sentenced to death. That was commuted to a life imprisonment back in 2014. The allegation is that he provided 2 9-volt batteries to the main conspirator in the assassination of former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, which was Sivarasan. Now, the allegation was that he provided 2 batteries. Now, Perarivalan, in his defense, had said time and again that he didn't know what he was providing these batteries for, which is why he said that he's not guilty. He didn't know that it was going to be used. Those batteries were actually used in the bomb that killed Rajiv Gandhi, that was used by the suicide bomber Dhanu in Sri Perumbudur back in 1991. So that's what led to the conviction. But what also added another twist in the story is that the investigating officer in this case then came out to admit that they never wrote down a verbatim confession of Perarivalan. He's also called locally Arivu. That's a name that, he's known for as well. So this claim that was made by the investigating officer, he confessed that he never took a verbatim confession from Perarivalan, and that's when Perarivalan also came out and said that, look, the batteries, the 9-volt batteries that I bought, I didn't know what it was being used for. So there was a lot of back and forth about whether he provided a confession really or not, whether there was a verbatim confession on record, and whether it really did belong to Perarivalan. So there have been a lot of, twists and turns in this particular case. But it will come down now to the other convicts. What happens to them, to Nalini, who's also been pleading her case for the last many years. There's a lot of emotion surrounding Nalini, her case, her imprisonment, her conviction as well. So we'll see how this really plays out. But as far as politics in Tamil Nadu is concerned, this is going to have huge tremors in the state. The DMK will say that, look, we've done what needed to be done to ensure the release of Perarivalan. They're going to be seeing this through. There's no doubt about that.
In that sense, Akshita, and this is rather unfortunate because at the end of the day, we're talking about the assassination of a former Prime Minister of the country. AIADMK would be seeing this as a missed opportunity, given that they wanted to release the killers just before elections in Tamil Nadu last year, and that did not happen, isn't it? They were trying to build a lot of pressure on the BJP, and that didn't really work out.
If you look at it politically also, you know, the AIADMK in the run-up to the elections, as you pointed out, Sneha, along with this, a slew of other issues that they tried to raise. And, you know, there was a narrative that the alliance with the BJP perhaps hurt them more because of so many ideological differences, including on this particular issue of the release of Rajiv Gandhi's killers. You heard what Narayan Tirupati said. You know, he gave us very crisp answers where he said that we'll abide by what the Supreme Court says, we respect what the Supreme Court says, but refusing to really commit and outrightly say what their stand is on this issue, because the BJP has been very clear that they're not a party that backs what the DMK and AIADMK had to say on this, which is why the central government also in the Supreme Court during the course of this hearing actually came out to defend what the governor did, saying that the grant of mercy can be done by the president, which is something that's not true. Constitutionally, the governor of the state also can do that. That's what the Supreme Court also highlighted, saying, look, that's not true, what the centre has said. So this, you know, has dented the BJP in a way in Tamil Nadu. It also dents the AIADMK. As you pointed out, you know, they would have been hoping that this happened when they were in power. This is a huge, huge boost, make no doubt, for the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, for the DMK and for the Stalin government, who will claim that this is a victory that they've ensured, that it's their campaign that's allowed the release of Perarivalan.
Big story at this 31 years in jail, 24 years of solitary confinement, and he's been on the death row for years together now, for almost 15 years, and finally relief for one of the main accused, in fact convicted, not accused but convicted in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case, is going to be soon walking out a free man. The Supreme Court has granted relief and has ordered the release of Rajiv Gandhi assassination convict AG Perarivalan. Of the Constitution, ordering the release of Perarivalan, also known as Arivu. He was accused of having bought 2 9-volt golden power battery cells for Sivarasan, the LTTE man who masterminded this conspiracy. The batteries were used in the bomb that killed Rajiv Gandhi on 21st of May, that fateful year. It's time for a quick commercial break here. We're keeping a very close eye on that story and much more in just a bit.